This video is going to contain spoilers from FX's Shogun, the novel, the AT series, and the real history. So if you want to go into the next few episodes without knowing anything at all, then I'm warning you now. This video will be discussing what could potentially happen. Okay, so now that bit's out of the way. The trailer for episode 8 of Shogun has recently been released, and whilst I did a full breakdown of the trailer, there was one moment in particular within it that I felt deserved a bit more discussion and a stronger focus. This was the couple of seconds that occurred right at the end of the trailer. Toranaga and Mariko were together in conversation, and it concluded in a way that was extremely ominous, and like Mariko was going to be involved in something crucial with the development of Toranaga's plan. But what exactly could that be? Well, with that, let's jump into the video and discuss the scene and also provide some different theories and predictions on what it could mean. So what will happen? Well, with regards to the theme of the entire trailer, it all very much felt like it was focused around Toranaga going to Osaka. We don't know if this is with his brother Saeki Nobutatsu, where he'd essentially be described as a prisoner, or if it's going to be on his own and he's looking to bring a fight. There have been a ton of theories going around, but one in particular that seems to have legs is the fact that Toranaga could be doing the Trojan horse approach and agreeing to go to Osaka with his brother. And he'd be going there under the ruse of being a prisoner. But then once there, the real intentions could be revealed, and then Crimson Sky would happen and an attack on Osaka Castle would occur. John Blackthorne literally said, "Behold the great warlord, the brilliant master of trickery," when referring to Toranaga. So I think there is a different plan at play here, and Blackthorne is aware of it. After all, Blackthorne is probably Toranaga's most trusted man. I think it's inevitable that Crimson Sky is going to happen. The title of episode 9 has that name specifically, so Osaka Castle will face a siege and will have to defend its gates in some capacity. This is where this particular scene from the episode 8 trailer comes into question and gains its relevance. So Toranaga said to Mariko, "Now, are you ready to do your part?" To which she didn't say anything in response, but she just looked like she had fear in her eyes and was aware of what she needed to do. It looked like there was a large responsibility that was being placed on her shoulders. This conversation between the both of them is one that I think will occur before the one that we saw taking place between Blackthorne and Mariko, where he said to her that she shouldn't go to Osaka, and she responded by saying that her allegiance forbade her from doing anything else. So it seems like what she needs to do that Toranaga is asking if she's aware of is going to Osaka. We know that Mariko has wanted to die for a countless number of years, ever since her father betrayed the daimyo at the time and as punishment was ordered to kill all of her family members and then ultimately commit seppuku. However, because he ensured that Mariko was married to Tora Buntaro, it meant that she was technically Buntaro's, as it was said a few episodes back in the context of the show that a wife belonged to the husband. So this meant that she wasn't directly associated with her father and she couldn't necessarily be punished like the rest of her family. However, she wanted to commit seppuku and escape the burden of life, and it's something that she's wanted to do ever since. But those that are around her don't allow her to do it, such as Buntaro and also Toranaga. So this is where I feel Toranaga is going to make some kind of deal with Mariko. He knows full well that Mariko wants to end things for herself, and with her being a skilled fighter as we saw in the flashback a couple of episodes back prior to her marrying Tora Buntaro, I think he's going to use her when it comes to looking to get some kind of hold over Osaka Castle. I believe he's going to put her in a position of danger where she can fight and she may end up dying, which will ultimately allow her to get what she wants. Within the real history, Tamako, which is the real figure that Mariko is based on, was actually dead by this point. She died when Ishida took over Osaka Castle and held many family members of the generals and regents hostage. It's unknown if she committed seppuku because she didn't want to be held hostage or if it was a family retainer that killed her. It was said that if her life were to ever be put in danger, then her servant should kill her. So the real history isn't something that we can really go off for the direction of where the show's going to go. However, within the previous iterations of Shogun, something similar did occur, and it means that there's somewhere we can turn to. And it does seem like Mariko going to Osaka under the orders of Lord Yoshi Toranaga is going to be something that proves to be eventful and have long-lasting consequences for many characters in the show. The description for episode 9 is Mariko arrives in Osaka for the fight of her life, and then episode 10's description contains the line, "in the wake of a tragic death." This to me makes me think that Mariko is going to be killed when she goes to Osaka. There were theories floating around that maybe the showrunners might not kill off Mariko and drift from the source material, but it very much feels like Mariko will be meeting her end when she gets there. In the previous iterations, when Mariko was in Osaka, herself and Blackthorn were there with the intention of rescuing some of the prisoners that Lady Ochiba and Ishido had held hostage. This was done with the hopes of getting them to ally with Toranaga and help grow his army in terms of support. However, when the both of them tried to escape with the hostages, ninjas arrived and Mariko ultimately sacrificed herself so that Blackthorn and the hostages would be able to escape. This is something which is extremely bittersweet. It's obviously devastating because she died, and we've really connected with this Mariko, so it will be sad. But at the same time, that was the very thing that she always wanted, to rid herself of the burden of this life. She viewed her life as the abyss, hence the title of the next episode. So her dying and sacrificing herself in order for good to triumph over evil is something that allowed her to go out with a long-lasting legacy, and also enabled her to be a pivotal figure for John Blackthorn and Lord Yoshi Toranaga. I think this is what's going to happen in the final few episodes of the show, and this particular scene in question from the episode 8 trailer that the entirety of the video has been focused on will be the very first time that it's mentioned, and it will most likely lay down the plan of what Toranaga wants her to do, the plan which will ultimately lead to Mariko's death. He knows that she doesn't want to be around anymore, as she begged him to allow her to carry out seppuku in the previous episode. So I think this is Toranaga's way of allowing her to meet death, but in a different way to what she expected. I believe he knows that she's going to die when he sends her to Osaka, as I feel ordinarily he wouldn't send her into danger, especially considering that she's kept out of harm's way because she's needed for the translation between Blackthorn and himself, so it feels like a slightly different decision to what he ordinarily makes. Out of all of the moments that occurred in the short 23-second trailer, I do think that this scene is the most important that was there, because it essentially marks the beginning of the end. When Tamako died in real life, it changed the balance and it started to go in Ieyasu Tokugawa's favour. People turned against Ishida Mutsunari over her death, and I think that will be the case with Mariko, Ishido, and Toranaga. So this plan being put in place and the foundations being laid down means a lot when it comes to the battle that will eventually be taking place, and Ishido's potential loss in allies which will be detrimental in the long term. With only a few days to go until the episode releases, bring on the 8th episode. So, there you have it, the meaning of this scene in the Shogun episode 8 trailer. If you want to see more videos on Shogun, then click on the card in the top corner. I've been covering the entirety of the show since the first episode, and I'll be continuing to do it until it concludes. I've also been delving into the real historical figures behind the characters, so if you want to learn about them, then head over to the channel where there's an entire playlist. What do you think will happen in episode 8? Do you agree that it'll kind of mark the beginning of the end? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thanks for tuning into the video, and I'll see you in the next one.